Georgia football just got good and bad news ahead of a monster commitment week, and we got to break it all down. What's up, guys? I'm Matt Long. Welcome to Georgia Football 365. If you are a Georgia Bulldogs fan, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out a ton. But let's jump right into what we got for today, because Georgia is targeting a lot of players. That recruitments are coming right around the corner, starting with a recruitment that we are going to see the answer to on this Friday, July 3rd, and that is one of Georgia's top targets currently, offensive tackle Nate Carson. Nate Carson is 6'4", 290 pounds. He is rated a 4-star recruit by 24/7 Sports. They have him ranked as the 184th best player in the class of 2027, ranked the 24th best tackle in that class, and the 6th best player in the state of South Carolina. Unfortunately, the bad news on Nate Carson is the fact that he is from the state of South Carolina. More detailed, he's from Columbia, South Carolina. And if you know about the SEC, you know the South Carolina Gamecocks are the hometown team there. And unfortunately, we are hearing from our insiders that South Carolina is currently the recruiting favorite to land Nate Carson. However, we do know the Georgia Bulldogs are a close second. Now, Nate Carson is a big-time recruit, like I said, a 4-star prospect, and Gabe Brooks, 24/7 Sports scouting analyst, tells us a ton of things that Carson does well, talking about how he's a well-rounded offensive lineman with tackle experience who at the same time can play multiple positions. He's also very, very young for the 2027 recruiting class, and I love the fact that he's super young when you combine that with the fact that his hand technique is very good. One of the bullet points here is displays encouraging consistency in hand placement as a pass blocker. Technique like that usually takes longer for offensive linemen to learn, so it feels great that Carson is learning that younger, because usually it takes the offensive lineman a little bit longer to learn that type of stuff. The next great thing about him is his footwork is pretty good, with the exception of one point that we're going to bring up here. But he's a fast dude for an offensive lineman. We can see here enough movement ability to pull and climb. So that is, pulling in the run game or climbing to the second level when you're blocking. Also knows how to plays angles very, very well, uses effective body leverage and engages angles to cement seals and reaches. Also knows how to force edge rushers around the arc while limiting inside counter threat. Essentially, putting rushers around the arc, that means when edge rushers are running around the end, they want to run around your offensive tackle, but if your offensive tackle is fast enough, you are able to push that edge rusher so far out that he just goes harmlessly past the quarterback and he doesn't actually make a problem. Now, the issue with doing that is if you overset and try to force the edge out there too early, then he can hit you with a counter move or some sort of inside move. But we did see earlier that Carson knows how to use his body leverage properly to get out of the way of that. Also, adequate kick slide and foot quickness to get out in space on the edge and pass pro. So like I said earlier, good feet, quick feet. But the one of two downsides here. One, he has to find work a little bit more effectively. Gabe Brooks says can more consistently hunt/engage targets in those situations. Those situations being when he makes it to the second level or when he is moving as a pulling blocker. So when his blocking assignment isn't obvious pre-snap, that's when he starts to get a little bit, where's my guy? Who am I supposed to block on this play? That's something that will come with more experience. Like we said, younger dude. Next bad point here, gets over his feet at times, compromising balance and body control. If you are not, properly set, you're going to be easier to push over. And if you are an offensive lineman on the ground, if you turn into a turtle, you're not going to be helping your offense. Last point here, this is also someone that, while he plays tackle right now, can move inside at the next level. It would be pretty insane to see a 6'4", 290-pound center or guard, but Georgia is known for having monstrous offensive lines. In fact, larger than even some NFL level offensive lines. But like I said earlier, bad news on Carson because South Carolina is currently the leader, but Georgia does have a contingency plan in place, and that is Miller Westerfield, another offensive tackle prospect, 6'6", 290 pounds from Roswell, Georgia. So this time we have the state recruiting advantage. Rated a 3-star by 24/7 Sports. They have him rated an 89 overall. Ranked as the 47th best offensive tackle in the 2027 recruiting class and the 50th best player in the state of Georgia. In terms of his national ranking, the 24/7 Sports composite grade, which is an average of the other recruiting websites, so ESPN Recruiting, Yahoo, Rivals on 3. Essentially, the consensus recruiting grade for Miller Westerfield actually has him higher as a 4-star recruit and ranked as a top 400 player in the class. One thing, I did call him the contingency plan to Nate Carson, so that sort of suggests if Georgia does end up landing Carson, they wouldn't go for Miller Westerfield. That is not the case. What I'm hearing is Georgia is looking for an additional offensive lineman in the 2027 class. However, should we pick up Nate Carson, that does not confirm that we wouldn't then turn around and go after Miller Westerfield as well. So there is a world where we pick up multiple more offensive tackles in the 2027 recruiting class. But let's jump into another player here, and a player that Georgia is projected to land. So here's some of our good news here. Adryan Cole, 6'2", 190-pound safety from Atlanta, Georgia. Got that in-state advantage. If you want to remain a premier program in college football, you have to make sure you are dominating recruitment in your own state. And this is one in-state recruit that Georgia is currently on track to be landing when Cole does announce his commitment coming in July. Rated a 4-star by 24/7 Sports. They have him rated a 90 overall, ranked as the 27th best safety in the 2027 recruiting class and the 26th best player in the state of Georgia. Also, we can see Cole is the highest ranked player in this entire video, ranked as the 168th best player in the entire class of 2027. So if we are going to pick up any player in this video, you would hope it's Cole because he is ranked very, very highly, and I have zero doubts about Kirby Smart's ability to recruit and develop offensive linemen, especially tackles. So if we don't get Carson or if we don't get, was it Westerfield? Yeah, Westerfield. I'm not worried about that at all. Kirby Smart has proven that he deserves everyone's full trust, faith, and commitment when it comes to building out an offensive line for the Bulldogs. Final name here, someone that we've talked about in the past here, Caden Fife. Defensive line prospect, 6 foot 4.5 inches tall, 290 pounds from Bama, but Alabama not the favorite in this recruitment. He is rated a 3-star by 24/7 Sports, ranked as the 50th best defensive lineman in the class by 24/7 Sports. However, the 24/7 Sports composite grade, which is, like I said, consensus is higher on Fife than the 24/7 Sports grade is, and actually has him rated as a 4-star as well and a top 400 player in the class of 2027. So this is going to be a huge week for Georgia in terms of commitments. We're hoping that we get good news on Friday with Carson, although we are not anticipating it on, tomorrow, Wednesday, July 1st. It's going to be a huge day over the entire landscape of college football in terms of recruitments. Not sure how many recruitments Georgia's going to land, but I am expecting more commitments coming pretty soon here later in the month of July for the Georgia Bulldogs. That's what I got for this video. If you stuck around this long, I appreciate you taking the time to watch the video all the way through. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Go Dogs!